for a volunteer to do something? You want to help? Say yes. Oh yeah, okay. You're jaded. No, come on. We need somebody to ring our bell. We do it about 10 minutes before showtime. Want to do it?
Have you met the family?
Sure, I'll ring the bell.
Put some enthusiasm into it. I'll open the door. Wait a minute.
Okay, good. Now pull really good.
Okay, go ahead.
Up and then all the way down. There we go. Beautiful.
So I recently said hi to him, shook his hand, and that was it.
Troubleshoot without actually having to go.
Look, when you apply to college, put that on your resume, okay? Thank you.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people don't know the story.
The bell has an absolutely fascinating story.
The bell? The bell, yeah.
But it was originally put into this building back when it was the Middlebury Town Hall. And it's historic. It's a Manili bell. It's a big old bell. It had actually the names of the select board at the time engraved on it. I mean, it's just this beautiful thing. Hi, I'm Doug Anderson, Artistic Director of the Town Hall Theater here in Middlebury, Vermont.
My name's Michael Emilio.
Walt Deverell, I'm a volunteer here at Town Hall Theater.
This was the town offices since 1884, and so the bell had been used to toll 9:30 curfew for kids. So every 9:30 that bell would go and every kid in Middlebury had to go home.
It's funny, I remember the Town Hall Theater. I remember going to a movie there before my uncle bought it. It must have been, I think it was 1959. I think it was about 3 or 4 years old, somewhere in there.
I know people to this day who would see movies here when they were kids, and they say they never saw the end of a movie because the great bell rang and you had to go. There was no questioning that. You just had to go home. I should preface this by saying, like any small town tale, people tell this story in different ways. And it revolves around a man named Sam Emilo.
I grew up with all my aunts and uncles always around. Sam was always my favorite.
So the building came up for sale. Sam Emilo bought it.
Everybody knew who he was. And everybody would say, hey, Sam, you know, it's just, he had so many dealings with so many people. He owned stores. And
eventually put a restaurant in here called the Belmont, which was very popular. But when he bought it, he made several changes to the building. And Sam was a bit of an operator. He said, that bell's worth money. And so, unbeknownst to most people in the community, he took the bell out of the tower. He said, I'm going to take it down to Mincer Brothers in Rutland, and I'm going to sell it to them. They'll melt it down for scrap.
any way to make a buck. I mean, you know, so he figured he wasn't going to use the bell.
Two people, Arthur Healy was one and Theron Walcott was another. They discovered it, that the bell was heading toward Rutland. Arthur was in the art department at college and cared about such things. And Theron Walcott was his friend. One day Theron Walcott was passing the building, this is his words, and he saw a crane taking down the bell. He asked the crane operator where he was taking it. Mincer's in Rutland was the reply, a junkyard.
When the town people found out about it, there was a mad dash. People got in their cars.
Like, come on, we gotta save the bell. And they meet up with the bell on the Mincer, and nothing had happened to it yet. And it took all day to negotiate with Mincer, who kept getting on the phone with Emilo to strategize. They said they already had a buyer who was keen to buy it. Finally, they got possession of the bell, but they had to go home and do a public subscription to buy it, raised from $150 to $200. Arthur Healy and Theron Walcott rushed back to town and started running into the restaurants going, $1 for the bell, $1 for the bell, trying to get everybody in town to come up with the money to buy the bell back. But the town did, in fact, manage to buy the bell back. Then the question was where to put it. So they brought it back to the Sheldon Museum, where it sat happily on the lawn of the Sheldon Museum for many, many, many years.
There was a big cement block pillar with the bell on top.
The object of many pranks. People would ring it in the middle of the night, that kind of thing.
And they had a piece of wood around the clapper, but we'd still jump up there and ring it, especially after coming out of the bar that used to be down the street.
But it was the town's bell. We started talking to the Sheldon when we were restoring this building. It seemed absolutely essential that we get that bell back. I don't know why. We were just obsessed with the bell should go back here. What a great public relations thing to put the bell back. We're going to really restore this building completely. The Sheldon Museum was really great about it. They're historians. They realized it should come back.
Hello, my name is Jan Albers, and I'm the new director of the Henry Sheldon Museum of Vermont History. In my first week, I wasn't expecting to be giving things away. I'm usually more of a collector. Because we were able to keep and preserve this bell, we have the wonderful opportunity today to put it back in its home at the Town Hall Theater building.
There's a little P.T. Barnum in anybody who wants to restore a place like this. The whole town got behind that bell. We put it on a truck. We had a Dixieland band. We made a few speeches.
We'll talk like this because there are people to thank.
Senator Jim Jeffords was here, who helped raise money to restore this. We said it's not a parade, it's a procession. We're all going to accompany the bell back.
Thank you all for coming.
It was very difficult, a very difficult rebirth of that bell back into the tower. We were working with Breadloaf Corporation at the time, who were our builders and our designers, and they're like, how are we going to get it up there? And I said, they did it in 1884. And so we had to figure out how heavy it was. And it's nothing you can just lift or put on a scale. The Manili Bell Company, probably the most famous bell company in the country, Troy, New York. We wrote to them, we said, how heavy is our bell, do you know? And they said, ring it and tell us the tone. It's a little hard to find out because if you ring a bell, it has all these overtones, and it's hard to find out what the true tone is, but we determined it was a D, which means it weighed almost exactly a ton, 2,000 pounds. Breadloaf Corporation had this huge forklift that they managed to get, this articulated forklift that went up over 2 stories. And the interesting thing was the guy running it couldn't see what was happening.
Timmy, tip your forks down. Copy?
Yeah. Good idea.
You need to tip the forks down a little bit. Tip her down.
So you have a 1-ton bell on a forklift that has to go through a tiny opening. We had to reinforce the tower like mad to put that bell back in. And it was pretty much said to us, if he makes any mistakes, we're going to knock down the bell tower. We'll just knock it down. Because the bell tower was in no great shakes to begin with. Everybody waited and waited and waited, and apparently there's a great deal of cursing coming from the man up above, trying to squeeze this bell in, and I think it took about an hour. And actually a lot of people wandered away because it took so long. But finally they got the bell back in.
Going good. Keep going. A little bit more. A little more.
And now we ask people to ring the bell, people who come to our shows 10 minutes before the show. Would you like to ring the bell?
It does a couple things. Number one, it's entertainment to the people who are waiting around to get in. And number two, it encourages people who are outside when they hear the bell that, hey, it's time to come into Town Hall Theater.
And you can hear it as far away as Weybridge. It really has a beautiful tone. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Now, I always usually try to find a young person to do it.
Kids love it. They absolutely love it.
You should see the look on their face. They're absolutely excited about it. And I tell the parents, somewhat in jest, but somewhat seriously, that you know, when your child goes off to college and applies for college, make sure they put it on their college application that they are an official bell ringer at Town Hall Theater.
And also on New Year's Eve, when we have our big New Year's Eve parties here, we, at midnight, we all go out with champagne and we ring the great bell at 12 o'clock. It's great. And there's one other thing, when we were restoring this building, we had arranged that after it rang a few times, all of the other church bells in town would start ringing. It's hard to quantify how many people were involved. I mean, by that time, over 1,000 people were working on this restoration in all kinds of ways. I had a great board, lots of volunteers and donors. But basically, it was just you know, people who care about such things. That you know, a small town doesn't throw away a bell, and it puts it back where it belongs.